murder case. A tale of two boys. One, a star athlete. The other sometimes wore heels and makeup to class.
They would tease him 24/7. They would beat up on him.
A perfect storm that exploded with a drawn gun. Did a schoolyard crush result in gay panic in the 8th grade? If you were on the jury, what would you decide? And why are some of them wearing wristbands with the killer's name on it? Classroom crush. And a popular teen and a seemingly safe older mentor.
You want them hanging around a chaplain and going to church and helping people. It was a no-brainer.
But was this self-proclaimed man of God teaching murder? An internet ad. 3 missing men.
Breaking news, a man's body's found buried in a shallow grave.
And parents trying to put the pieces together.
I think that he was in fear for his life.
And there is a monster here, but it's not my son.
Hello and welcome to 2020 on ID. I'm John Quinones. The teenage years are filled with potential risks. But what could cause a young person to make a tragic choice? One that could land him in jail for the rest of his life. You're about to see 2 stories of teens who found themselves in situations they could never have imagined, and parents left wondering how it all went so wrong. First, Brandon McInerney. He was a popular kid, but that didn't stop him from suffering what some would call bullying. And as Juju Chang first reported in 2011, the results would be deadly.
Oxnard, California, on the sun-drenched Pacific coast, sits just an hour north of Hollywood, but in many ways it's about as far away as you can get. It was 2 days before Valentine's Day, 2008. Don Boldrin's 8th grade English class was just underway. Brandon McInerney had just turned 14, and on that day, he did something a little unexpected. He sat down behind Larry King.
We had been working on a paper in the computer lab. I remember hearing a pop.
Boldrin says she turned and had a horrible feeling.
It was very quick, but you could smell smoke, and I looked at Brandon, because Brandon was standing.
He was holding a .22 caliber handgun.
And I asked him what the hell he was doing, and he looked at me, and then he shot Larry again.
Point blank, execution style, in front of all his classmates. Dawn says afterwards, Brandon simply dropped the gun and walked out the door. Frantic, she remembers scrambling to get the other kids into another classroom and to safety.
I remember just screaming at those kids, get through this door. That's when I started screaming, Larry's in there. And I was screaming, it's Larry, we need to get back to Larry.
They had to stay behind locked doors because no one knew what the shooter might do.
911 emergency on lockdown. You're on lockdown. Why? Shots were fired by room 42. Who's the victim? Larry.
We saw police on campus, and so we had kids up in the windows trying to see what was happening. It feels like time stops. Because you're thinking, why would something happen like this?
The teacher and Dawn had to struggle to keep everyone calm.
And then I just started holding the kids. Some of them started commenting, he said he had a gun, Mrs. Boldrin. I didn't believe him. He said he was going to do it.
He said he was going to do it. That's what classmates would tell teachers in the days that followed.
Did he seem like a violent kid?
Never, no, absolutely not.
An 8th grader in Oxnard was shot and killed by another classmate, allegedly because he identified himself as gay.
The 14-year-old shooter, Brandon McInerney, and the victim, 15-year-old Larry King, were on a collision course.
It wasn't a perfect storm, but it was a storm.
By all accounts, they were polar opposites.
Brandon, to me, is your typical 8th grade boy. A jock, very sport-like.
Brandon was tall, athletic, and popular.
Karate, very active.
Not a misfit.
No, not by any means. And he was respectful.
Larry, on the other hand, was short, slight, and emotionally immature. An 8th grader who Dawn says read at a 3rd grade level and who quickly got a lot of her attention.
Larry was also described almost universally as effeminate.
He was soft-spoken. You wouldn't have looked at him and go, oh, he's outwardly gay or something.
Larry didn't hang with the jocks. He felt more comfortable with a group of chatty girls. One of them was his best friend since the 3rd grade, Avery.
He wanted to be himself. He didn't want to follow in other people's footsteps.
But Don Boldrin says however brash Larry may have been, he was just looking to fit in. Larry King was part black and adopted by white parents who say he loved bugs and dreamed of being an entomologist. Friends say Larry told them his parents were abusive, though they deny it. By the 8th grade, the often disruptive boy was removed from his adoptive home.
Larry came up to me after class and he said, I have a new address.
Did you notice a change with him at all now that he was living in foster care?
He was happier. He was more outgoing.
Friends say while living in a group home, Larry began exploring his sexual identity, like a lot of kids his age.
He wanted to see what it was like on the other side. He liked it. He liked the way he felt when he was pretty.
Larry began showing up in middle school dressed in girls' clothes. Students and teachers had no idea how to react.
Larry wasn't doing anything that was against the rules. He was dressed, using jewelry, using makeup in any way that a girl would have been able to.
But as anyone will tell you, middle school is an emotional tinderbox filled with raging, even explosive hormones.
How was he treated in school? How did kids react to him dressing like a girl?
Most of the girls would look at him like just one of the girls, and the guys looked at him like he wasn't human. They would tease him 24/7. They would beat up on him. He would go in the restroom for a while, and they'd push him into the lockers, and they tried to take his humanity from him.
So they bullied him in every way?
Yeah.
Dawn Boldrin says she knew Larry was having a rough time, so she decided to do something nice for him. She secretly gave Larry a hand-me-down, her daughter's old prom dress with green satin trim.
I bagged it up, and before school, very privately, I gave it to him. I told him to enjoy it, have fun.
Some might say, what is a teacher doing giving a dress to a boy?
There's a fine line in the classroom, and it's so hard because as a teacher, you are just seeing things with children that you shouldn't see and dealing with them in situations you just don't believe a child should ever have to deal with.
What she says she saw is something that happens in schools everywhere, every day. A tortured student, bullied for being different. But she's been vilified by some for giving Larry that gown ever since. Did the prom dress accelerate an already dangerous situation?
When you made the decision to give him the dress, you weren't thinking with your head necessarily.
No, I wasn't. I was thinking with my heart. I was thinking, well, how great would it be to have a pretty dress? Now, I know Larry wasn't a girl, but he obviously enjoyed pretty clothes.
Larry's friend Avery Lasky says it was a rare bright spot in Larry's otherwise troubled life.
Did you ever see the dress that Dawn Boldrin gave Larry?
Yes.
You have a big smile on your face. Why?
He acted just like any girl would when they see their prom dress. He was smiling nonstop, trying to show everybody, oh my God, look at my dress.
And despite his teacher's warnings, Avery says Larry flaunted his new prized possession. Larry created a whole new identity for himself and even asked to be called a new name.
It was just like a girl. He had an alter ego named Letitia.
Dawn Boldrin says she put her foot down.
I said, no, I'm not going to call you Letitia. I'm going to call you Larry because that's what's on my roll.
Did you ever warn him against what he was saying, what he was doing?
I did. I said, you know, what you do makes some people uncomfortable.
But there was one student who friends say was not only uncomfortable, but disgusted by Larry's flamboyant new persona, Brandon McInerney.
He would call him names. I think he had a hatred toward anyone who wasn't just like him.
Did Brandon ever threaten Larry?
Several times. He would always say, well, I'll get you later. I'm gonna hurt you.
After the shooting, police picked up Brandon immediately, just blocks from the school. Inside his backpack, a copy of Hitler's Mein Kampf, and 2 spiral notebooks full of Nazi symbols, and 3 strange letters, SSL. Was it a hate crime? Did white supremacy inspire him? Or was it something more personal? There was talk of a schoolyard